Going through the basics of ECMLINK, we're just going to look at data logging and setting up your basic inputs. So what you want to start out with is open ECMLINK, and you're going to want to make sure you're connected to your car. So make sure the key is on, you're plugged in with your ECMLINK cable, and connect to it. You'll see in the bottom right hand corner what firmware version you are on. And what we'll end up doing is we're going to upgrade this firmware version later, but right now I don't have access to the internet. So what we'll end up doing is we're going to start a stream just to get familiar with data logging. And you've got start stream and start capture. If you start a stream and stop a stream and then restart the stream again, what's going to happen is it's going to delete that data log that you just did. So if you're out on the road and you start a stream and you want to save, typically I recommend doing a capture. So you'll start a capture, and then when you stop a capture, it'll automatically save it. So you start it, then you stop that capture, and it's automatically going to save it without you having to do anything. So let's say you accidentally hit start stream again, that's going to end up saving it in your ECMLINK log files. So what you can do is end up going to find that, and you'll find that in your ECMLINK it took that file from earlier, and that was the capture. So it's nice to do that, especially when you're out running around getting a log, and to make sure you don't accidentally delete it. But for these purposes, I'm just going to be starting streams, and that's going to be a little more simple. So when you start a stream, you're probably not going to have all the data. So let's just say you want to calibrate your throttle position sensor. So we're going to, for this instance, we are going to have our throttle position off. Let's go to 25. So you can see what's going on. So it's at 1%. I'm not on the throttle now, but what will happen is your car, if it sees 1% throttle and you're trying to idle the car, the idle speed control motor won't take over. So we want to calibrate this. So what you're going to end up doing is you first want to data log throttle position and TPS volts. So you don't see TPS volts on here, but we're going to have to log it. So to do that, you're going to stop your stream, right click, go down to captured values, and on this left hand side there's going to be all of your options that you can data log. Now you'll notice that some of them are bold and some of them are not. The bold ones are the ones that I have logging on this ECU. Can you log them all? Yes. Would I recommend it? Absolutely not. Reason being is that every piece of information that you log is going to bog down your ECU and make it respond slower and harder for it to log. So typically only log what you need on some of these things. So we're going to be looking for throttle position, which is already added, and TPS volts, which is also already added. So what you'll end up doing is you'll hover over it, hover over something that's not bold, and you can add it. So if you click it, you click add to device, you'll see it adds at the bottom. And that'll add all the raw values that it needs to be able to calculate your throttle position volts. So go ahead and click OK once you've added it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go down to displayed values, because now your ECU is logging it, but it's not displaying those values. So even if we started a stream now, you can see it's not in our data log. So what you're going to do is you're going to right click and go down to displayed values. Now these are all the values that your ECU logs, but it's just not showing you on the screen. So what you're going to do is go down and you're going to find your TPS volts, like so. You're just going to add it to the display. And you're going to hit OK. So now it adds TPS volts in here. And typically what will happen is you want your TPS volts with no throttle applied to be at 0.63. and then with full throttle applied to be 5. Now, that's going to require some adjustment of the TPS sensor under the hood, but what we can do is we can offset it a little bit so that way 0 is absolute 0. So what we'll end up doing here is we'll start a stream, and you can see that as I apply the throttle, it's reacting. So in order to do a TPS adjust, what we're going to do is just start a stream without the car running, go all the way to the floor, and then all the way let off. You're going to stop the stream, right click, go down to TPS adjust. And what that's going to do is that's going to give you, based off your throttle that you just applied now, what it calculates for your throttle position offset and the scale. So you can see that's ready to save. You're going to click Save to ECU, go back, and then start a new log to verify that your TPS is 0. Now in this case, it's 0.65, so the TPS adjust didn't adjust it perfectly. So what we'll end up doing here is just going to ECMLINK Live, and we're going to offset it down just a little bit, and that should bring that down to 0.63. Now just to verify, we want to make sure we're at 0.63 with the car off, with the throttle shut, and we're at 5 volts with the pedal all the way to the floor. And that's that. So we got the TPS situated, and we know that it's working properly.